I'm James Reyes, the box office artist, and welcome to this very special episode of Ask the Artist. So this is a little bit different. Usually when I Ask the Artist, I'll take some questions of yours and I will answer them in depth. But, you know, my knowledge, it's pretty much my experience, and I think what would help each and every one of you, especially you who is trying to break in to any sort of art field, is to get the experience of not just from myself, but from other artists, other professional artists who have made it and have made art their career. And a lot of you watching want to be a comic book artist, whether it be for Marvel, for DC, for Image, for Dark Horse, all of which I have drawn for, but you just want to draw comics professionally. And a lot of questions I get is, what does an editor, what do they look for whenever they are going through someone's portfolio? Now, granted, I am not an editor, but I have a friend who is. Today I have an interview with a buddy of mine. His name is John Barber. Now, John Barber, way back when I was trying to break into comics, well, I was in comics already, but trying to get the next job, John Barber was one of those editors I had circled on my list. John Barber was one of those editors I spammed, saying, hey, you got any work available? Got any work available? At that time, he was editor for X-Men, he was editor for Wolverine, a lot of Marvel titles, and then a little bit later on, he got a job at IDW to edit all of their Transformers titles, and that's when I actually got to work with him. He gave me a job doing Transformers More Than Meets the Eye back in 2013, and then he allowed me to work on Dark Cybertron for them. Now, luckily, I was able to go to Shanghai recently, as you know, and John was with me. And it's always interesting when you meet a guy for the first time in person. It's always a different experience. He always has a different voice than you had in his head when you were talking through email. But I asked John if he could do this interview with me about what it's like, or what him as a writer and him as an editor, what he looks for whenever he is looking for an artist, whether to collaborate with or an artist to hire. So we had this very special interview, which I think you will benefit from, and he has a wealth of knowledge, and I really hope you enjoy this episode. So this is I believe this is episode 9 of Ask the Artist, where I interview John Barber. Hi everyone, I'm here with a good friend of mine. Well, not really good friend. We're good friends. We're not good friends. A friend of mine, and we worked together on Dark Cybertron. He was editor at IDW, and now he's branching off into his own. Right now, I'm here with my friend John Barber. How are you, John?
Great. I'm really excited. Really happy to be here in Shanghai.
And thank you for doing this for me, because I'm sure a lot of my viewers would love to hear everything you'd have to say, especially to help them out. But before we talk about them, let's talk about you. What are you doing right now? I know you just left IDW to do your own thing. What's in the pipeline for you?
Yeah, I'm still doing a lot of writing for IDW. I'm finishing off writing the Transformers ongoing series, and then I'm writing with Cullen Bond and Fico Ossio doing the art. We're doing the Revolution crossover event with all the different Hasbro groups, like Transformers, G.I. Joe, Mask, Action Man, everybody's favorite Action Man. I'm writing Action Man with Paolo Villanelli drawing it. Andrew Griffith and I, who've been working together for like 7 years, I think, are kind of wrapping up our run on Transformers with the one-shot in Revolution. Then Optimus Prime is going to come out of that, an Optimus Prime ongoing series with Kei Zama doing the art. Doctor Strange Punisher digital limited series that's also going to come out in print from Marvel, and some Ultimate Spider-Man online comics from Marvel. And Back to the Future, I forgot, of course, with Bob Gale and Emma Vaselli.
So with that, you've had an extensive career in editing. Why don't you talk about that? First, how did you get into editing comic books, and where have you worked before?
My now wife and I moved to New York, and I applied for a job at Marvel. I literally forgot I applied for that job. I got a call from Bill Jemis. I thought it was my friends messing with me, and I had to go home and look and find a cover letter. And I was like, oh, I did apply to Marvel. So I went in after a quick 4 months of interviewing. I got a job as an assistant editor at Marvel. I worked on some of the younger readers comics. Then I worked. Eventually moved into the Ultimate line. I got promoted to associate editor, then editor, and edited the Wolverine line for a few years. Then I left, started doing a little freelance writing and freelance design. Then I kind of got pulled back into editing at IDW about 5 years ago, a little less than 5 years ago. So I was writing and editing while I was at IDW.
So John, as you know, a lot of my viewers, a lot of them are aspiring artists, and a lot of them want to work in comics, work for Marvel, DC, IDW, what the case may be. So first of all, let's start from a writer's standpoint. What is you as a writer? What do you look for whenever you're looking for an artist to collaborate with or to help you on a book?
You know, everybody will tell you the things you need to know, and they're all true. You know, you need to know storytelling, you need to understand anatomy, you need to understand perspective, like all the basic things. But what's really important is there's sort of like a spark of something really interesting and unique about your art, especially when you're breaking in. Because I think one of the things, and I don't mean to say don't work on the fundamentals, but one of the things people always hammer in is learn the fundamentals. But you might not be very interesting if that's all you have, you know? And one of the big things that's hard, like if you're working as an editor, you probably know 4 or 5 artists right now that do a perfectly good job that you could hire at any moment, and you know them enough that you can rely on them, you know they're going to get the job done, it's going to be okay. And okay is better than not okay, but great's better than okay. And if you have that chance that you might turn this into something really unique and great, like that's what's going to really get you work, really. Like that, and it's sort of impossible to describe it. There's an artist that I've been working with, and I was describing her art as whenever I see her art, I just want to be in that world. You know, and it's hard to describe what that means in terms of how do you make lines that make you want to do that. But when you look at stuff that you do, or that like James does, or you are James, I meant Alex Milne does. There's a quality of the art that not only is there like the technical ability, but there's just like this ineffable quality that's like, oh, this place that you're creating, this atmosphere, this world is really interesting and really unique, and feels like a particular person. You know, rather than just a machine made it. You know, like there's a few groups out there that I think do these really house style type things. I just don't think personally as an editor, I've never found that interesting. I know why that happens, because you know it can get done, and if an artist that draws in a really plain way can't draw issue 3 and you have to get somebody else in to draw it, you can find another artist that also doesn't draw in an interesting way to do issue 3.
Right, that's true. That's true. So would the same be applied, I guess, when you were working for Marvel? Was there a set way that you would be looking for a specific artist, or would it all be the same?
What's interesting about any time you're getting portfolio reviews as an editor is most of them are just flat out terrible. Like you can take a whole group of them and just push them off to the side because they're just terrible. Terrible in different ways. Sometimes it's terrible because they're just not ready yet. You know, they're still working on the things, and it doesn't mean you're not going to get good. But I mean, you don't want to say that to somebody. I mean, I'll say it as a general rule, but like when I'm talking to somebody, I'm not going to be like, your work's terrible. I'll point out the things they're doing right, you know, and encourage. You know, you want to encourage everybody, like, you know, because most of the time when it's somebody terrible, understand. I mean, they're not there yet, and you want them to get there. Sometimes you see somebody there's just that, like I said, that spark, or there's somebody. I remember I did a portfolio review at Marvel years ago for Riley Brown, and I was going through his art, and I was like, well, I have nothing to tell you. Like, this is really good. We should do something. And a couple months later, we did something. I think he's been working in comics ever since. I mean, he was doing stuff before then too, but working professionally in comics. So that was definitely it wasn't like a series of negatives. It was like, oh, this is really cool art. You did some really cool things here. I don't think I have any advice to give you. I think you're just there. It's just waiting for the right opportunity.
Especially in today's age with Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all that, how would you suggest the best way for an artist, aspiring artist, to contact like editors or try to find a job? Like how could they use social media, or is it going to cons? Is that the best way to try to find a job? Like, what would your tips be for them to try to actually get connections in order to get in the industry? Yeah,
that's a good question. There's a fine line between like stalking and getting your name out, and it's something I'm worried about, like as like now a freelance writer, that like there isn't a like clear rule that you can just say, oh, here's the thing. If you're really good, it's not stalking, but you probably don't know. But like, I would definitely get your work up online. I mean, I think even just getting your stuff up, and this has gotten a little trickier in the last couple years. I think where I used to say just getting your stuff up there and getting feedback from people was positive. I think now it's possible to just get such negative feedback, it could really be disheartening to people. So I sort of worry about some artists putting stuff up and just by whatever mechanics of whatever internet piece, just getting hammered with negativity or with like sexism or racism or something. And so you can't not put your work up, but you also have to take everything you hear with a real grain of salt and not let it get to you. But getting your work up online is more likely to get seen than not getting it up online, so that's better. I would definitely use Twitter, use whatever social media. I mean, Tumblr, anything that can get your work up out there and seen. Have a web page that you can refer people to. If it's DeviantArt or if it's your own portfolio kind of page, and anything that's just simple and gets your art out there. But I mean, I'd say use anything at your disposal. Use whatever advantages you might have. I mean, a lot of comic book publishers will have like a letters page or something. Like an email letters page that you can send letters to. Send stuff in. If you meet an editor somewhere and you get an email address, send them updates every once in a while. If that editor is like me, they might not reply back all the time, but I always did keep all the submissions I got. And sometimes I'd go back and need to find somebody and find those submissions and hire somebody. But don't send the same submissions over and over again. Send your new stuff. Like if you send 5 pages, do another 5 pages. They don't necessarily need to be sample pages either. You can go out and do your own comic. So if you do 4 sets of 5 submissions pages and they're all Superman and Batman and Transformers, and you don't get a job, then you've got the skill of plus 20 pages. But if you're going out and you're doing your own comic, you've actually just made a whole issue. So you've got an issue under your belt that you can put online. You can put on Comixology, whatever. You can try to build an audience for yourself that way. Having a fan base is always good, because you're already sort of field tested that people like what you do. If you can go to conventions, that can be good. They're not. I think most big conventions now are not really that great for getting a portfolio review. A lot of times. You go to like the Marvel booth at like San Diego, and they're selling credit cards. That's just not. They're not there for. It's not that they don't want artists. It's not that there aren't good people there, but that's just not what they're built for anymore. I think they might actually do portfolio reviews at San Diego, but that's just not necessarily the best place all the time because everybody's so overwhelmed. But if you can meet editors, and you're not crazy, they can put a face to your name. If you are crazy, that can hurt you. So maybe don't go. If you can create like some sort of relationship and get to meet somebody, and that way they at least know who it is that's sending the stuff into them. That's good. And there's also, I have met people at conventions, like Sarah Rocher, who's here with us. She actually came up. She was already doing professional Transformers work, but I didn't know her. She came up and showed me some pages of the collectible card game she was working on at the time, where she was doing digital painting, and she also had some of her drawings. And I thought the drawings were amazing. We got in touch. I sent her a script for a sample page, and she did a sample page of Transformers. It was really good, so we hired her. Like that stuff can happen. There's a little bit of luck involved in that kind of thing, but I think the internet and everything kind of does level the playing field a little bit. So if you're stuck somewhere, or you can't afford to go to a convention, or you live in a country that's far away from regular conventions, that's not necessarily gonna stop you anymore.
Okay, fantastic. That was very informative. I learned a lot with that one, for sure. So just one more question along those lines. So where is that line between, like the etiquette when it comes to contacting editors? Because you have guys who would post stuff and then they would, with every piece, they would tag editors and stuff. Where does that become more, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Like it gets like tagging people on Facebook or in like just like Twitter pictures of things. I mean that can get irritating. I mean there's certain times where it's like Like, it's different if you're like, hey, I did that. I love your comics. Here's a picture I did. You know, like that's just nice, right? Who's going to get mad about that? But if you're tagging an editor in 50 images you just uploaded to Facebook, like that's just going to be irritating, and that's probably going to get you blocked because their feed is just going to fill up with you. But if every once in a while you're saying, here's something that might be of particular interest. Oh, I know you as an editor really like Batman. Here's a Batman drawing I did. What do you think? Or hope you like it. Whatever. Right. You know, and I mean, the one thing I would really emphasize, because I don't think I've heard people who I thought would get this that didn't know this, but like, don't send the same stuff over and over again. That seems weird if you're on the other side of it. If you're on the receiving end of that, like if you do a new comic, most publishers you can find the address of the publisher in the comic, right? I think every publisher you have to. You could physically send copies of that. Put your editor's name on there, care of Marvel Comics. It'll probably get to them if you have a finished comic that you're putting out. Who doesn't like getting a free comic? It might sit on their desk for a while or forever, but it might not. It might be something, you know, if it's good, they might you know, take a look at it. But you don't. Then even if you don't hear back, maybe send the next issue. Maybe send the next one. Don't keep sending issue 1 over and over again. It isn't that they didn't get it and didn't reply. It's they don't have time to read it, or you know, it didn't catch them just right. But maybe they'll see issue 3 and realize, oh, this person's serious, or this person's really good, or gotten so much better between 1 and 3 that this is somebody to pay attention to.
Okay, fantastic. No. That's great for a lot of my viewers, for sure. Even for me, too. Okay, thanks. Thank you so much, John. You've given us a lot of great information I'm sure everyone can benefit from today. Where can we follow you and learn about your 100 projects that you're working on right now?
I'm the John Barber on Twitter. That's really about it. I'm trying to put together... I just started, so I'm trying to put together, you know, websites and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully we'll have stuff up and running soon. But hope to see you there.
A huge thank you to my man John for doing this for me, and it was a wealth of knowledge, I'll be honest with you guys. If I knew the stuff that he was talking about during the interview, maybe my career in comics would have lasted longer. But thank you so much, John. Again, please follow him on Twitter at the John Barber. At the John Barber, that is his Twitter handle. Please go follow him. Please go follow his new writing career, his solo writing career, and everything he's doing as a writer. He's working on some fantastic stuff. Please continue to follow him, and thank you again, John, for doing this for me. Now, this will be a new series where, I won't say it's a new series, Ask the Artist. So with Ask the Artist, either I'm going to answer your questions or I'm going to get someone else to answer your questions. And I have some lined up. Next week is an interview with my good friend Alex Milne. You saw him in my Shanghai video as well. He was with me as well, and we had a lot of parallels in our comic book career, but right now, to me, he is the quintessential Transformers artist, and he is going to talk about his career and about how to stay in comics and how to break into comics, so look out for that next week. And I have a whole bunch of interviews lined up in the coming months where I'm going to be talking to people who are working in the animation field, people who are working in the video game field, possibly people who are working in tattoos, possibly. We will see, but I hope you guys really enjoy this series and that you will get a lot from it, just like I hope you got a lot out of this episode. Please continue to follow me on all social networks. YouTube, please subscribe to me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, at Box Office Artist, Facebook and YouTube at The Box Office Artist. Please hit that like button. Let me know who else you'd like me to interview, and thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it, and please keep those questions coming. I want to help each and every one of you meet your artistic dreams, whatever they may be. My name is James. I'm the Box Office Artist. I'm here to say keep drawing, and hopefully I will see you all tomorrow.